Greetings, I'm your host, Juan Díaz. You may know me from my bi-monthly podcast, Politico, and now I am taking a deep dive with artists from all around Cleveland and the outside area to talk about the struggles, how they can overcome those, and their history in music. Stay tuned because this is City Sounds. The views expressed on this podcast by some of the guests may not represent those of the Inquisitor Media or Cleveland Finest Entertainment. Listener discretion and viewer discretion is advised. Well, welcome everybody once again to another episode of City Sounds. And today, we don't only have an artist, but we have one of the heads of Cleveland Finest Records that works through Cleveland Finest Entertainment. And so let me start by asking you to introduce yourself. Give me a little bit about you and what got you into doing the record stuff.
My stage name is CF2morrow. It was Tomorrow Forever, and originally it was Man of Tomorrow. Through middle school and high school, I battle rapped. Every school I went to, lunchtime, I'm trying to see where the crowd at. And I noticed a lot of Cleveland artists who really were taking it serious, but weren't taking off. Like Royalty Camp in the early 2000s. The only one who really made it really big was Chip the Ripper, King Chip now, but I started with poetry, and when I would battle rap, I would do 4-bar schemes, so just 4 rhyming words. So if you happen to be wearing something, whether your tennis shoes are creased up, or you got a hole in your jeans that ain't supposed to be there, or you got some chocolate milk on your shirt, I'm gonna find a way to make everybody laugh at you. And people may not have remembered my name, but they always remember my face. And I always knew the first song that made me want to rap was Hit 'Em Up. When I heard first off, fuck your bitch and the clique you claim, I said, oh, that's easy and clever. And that made everybody in the room bounce. And I think I was like 8 years old. And I knew I wanted to get some type of reaction like that. And FMG Bird, that's my brother, he was the first one that got us rapping. 12, 13 years old, listening to my favorite artist of all time, Lil Wayne, because he was 7 years older than me. He was a kid when he started rapping, and he was always very lyrical. And I really admire lyricists more than anything. Seeing so many talented people when I was performing from 2010 to 2021 who had, in my opinion, hit records. The song might have been better than the one I performed that night. And they weren't getting radio play. They weren't getting mainstream appeal. I didn't know Kid Cudi was from Cleveland until he was on 106 in Park Freestyle Friday, and they asked him to spit. And he started shouting out local Cleveland landmarks and stuff. And I'm like, hold on, where is dude from? Because Day and Night was hitting. And then I found out he had to go out to Chicago to link with Kanye, because there was no really good producers at the time in Cleveland. And me, I always looked in Cleveland for producers that I would use. So it always became about linking more than anything. I put records out because I am my favorite rapper. But industry-wise, it's Lil Wayne, in this exact order: Lil Wayne, Tupac, Scarface, Common, Eminem. My honorable mention is Jadakiss. But I listen to so much different music and different genres that I can tell when somebody actually has the potential to be bigger than the block they came from, or the set that they rep, or any other number of things. And seeing my brother get into the entertainment industry has been one of my proudest moments, and I back that man to the fullest. So since Cleveland's Finest was even an idea, I started saying it on records. I started wearing the merch before it got released to the public. So anything he wanted to do, I was with it.
And now you're working with all the artists around.
Yes, I am.
You're making sure, you're working with them to not only, bring their music out to the world, but you're also making sure that each artist is taken care of to the point that they understand and they know their background. They know the world of the music, and you're the face. You're the face of doing the work.
Yeah.
Now, some time ago, we created this podcast about a year and a half ago ourselves. Mm-hmm. And the idea of this podcast was pretty much, or City Sounds itself, was to give that spotlight to those artists, right?
Yes.
Because there's struggles and they're going through, and one of them is not being represented by local media, radio stations, etc. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's like a specific stigma around that? You as yourself, with the years of experience and stuff, do you think there's a stigma that they're just preventing this artist from going through? Is it like because they're younger? Is it because like the music they produce, the music they make?
No, I don't ever try to defame anybody unless we have real issues. So there's certain people that even if I've only met you in person 1 or 2 times, we're never gonna have a conversation. But I've had radio play, and I worked my ass off to get it. It was my 3rd album, a song called A Week Ago. I like to talk game plans with the artist. I let them know that one of the biggest mistakes I made was releasing an album before having major conversations with record labels. Because then they learned that after I spoke to the manager I was supposed to have, about a month after I dropped my first album, she said, now, whatever numbers you do, that's the type of check they're going to offer you. And that first album, I think the highest views on a song was like 600 or 700, which in my opinion, that's 600 or 700 people that appreciated the time that it took and the inspiration that it took to bring them something I thought was amazing. And I just want them to kind of have the mentality I had, always reaching out to steal somebody's fans. That's the one thing I tell every artist that I have a conversation with. If you do a song with somebody, you should tell them before you do a verse, I'm trying to steal some of your fans, and you need to do the same to me. Because then iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely no, and with that, you mentioned one of your songs that got into radio.
Yep.
Now, tell me a little bit about that song.
I did a lot of wrong as a married man, and that song was written about a situation that shouldn't have happened, and it was a mix of R&B and rap, nice melodic hook, and kind of friendlier bars geared more towards females and trying to make them feel something. The hardest part about getting it on the radio was just editing the song. I do everything myself when I record a song. I pick the beat, load the beat up, build the session, and having to go in and figure out ways to cut out cuss words that really weren't needed just to get it onto the radio, and then learning what cuss words can't be said on the radio, because there are a few, but a lot of people don't know that.
There is a few, you can get them through. Mm-hmm. If you try it hard, you can get them through, and if you work it. So let me ask you this, you're working behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. You're doing both of the works, right? With a lot of the artists. What do you say to an artist that is just trying to start, but they're like not inspired? They need some like advice to get through.
I would ask them first, how long have they been recording music? If they have been recording music, have they been recording on a phone? What program do they use? And what kind of music do they like to listen to? Who their favorite artist is. Because then I'll know how to help them reach those couple steps to get started. Because it's not just I release a song and I'm mainstream. Don't get me wrong, it happens from time to time, but it doesn't happen for everybody. You know, and I also tell new artists that I speak to that I want to see them perform. To me, being a performer as long as I have been, even starting in the theater, I just had a love of getting crowd reactions. And it's addicting, you know, so I want to see how they play to a crowd, what song they choose to pick, you know, and the feeling that they get if they're accepted and if they're rejected. Because seeing somebody get rejected and keep moving on is more inspirational than seeing you succeed every time.
11 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and you know, I ask this question to every artist, but I'm gonna ask it to you two different ways.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago, would you tell yourself where you are right now? What would you tell yourself 5 years ago to your current self right now? Like you are there. What advice would you like give yourself from now to 5 years ago?
Get an ASCAP account. It's cool having a DistroKid or whatever distribution that you use to put music out, but having an ASCAP means that every stream pays you in some way. And a lot of people don't know that when they're starting in the music business. They think if all I care about is making my friend's head rock, then I'm making it. But what about your kids or your future potential kids? How are you going to feed them if your goal is to strictly be a musician?
Absolutely. And now, where would you see yourself, I guess, in the next 5-10 years working with Cleveland Finest Entertainment and Cleveland Finest Records with this artist and doing the work you're doing right now for those artists?
I want Cleveland's Finest Entertainment, Cleveland's Finest Records to be Cleveland's version of quality control, because before I dropped my first album, I was scrolling on Facebook and came across the post, and it was a staircase. And on the right side, over top, it said Atlanta Rappers. On the left side, it said Cleveland Rappers. The Atlanta rap side had stick figures helping each other up the stairs. The Cleveland rap side had everybody pushing people down to get up. So I feel like I'm not done with music yet myself, but I am more focused on hearing great artists produce great music and seeing collaborations from West Side artists with East Side artists, maybe Garfield artists with Euclid artists, maybe Maple artists with Lakewood artists. You know, and one of the things that I prided myself on as an artist was touching different lanes. Me being half Puerto Rican, I tried to do a reggaeton hip hop record, and I thought it was decent, but I didn't want nobody laughing at it. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And I had a little bit of Spanish shit throughout the 16-bar verse, and I always tried to touch different areas. So I had a feature on an alt rock act. I had a feature with a funk act, a lot of different R&B acts, a lot of different type of rappers. My problem has always just been, and another thing I will tell them, my problem wasn't having money set to the side particularly for your music. Because you can expect somebody to come and give you a handout, but Cleveland's Finest Records and Cleveland's Finest Entertainment is not that. But we want you to glow in the city, in the state, and potentially in the country, and maybe even worldwide.
Absolutely. And for those listening at home, you can, or even watching, you can find more about Cleveland Finest Entertainment, Cleveland Finest Records in their social medias, but also if you visit citysoundspod.com, you'll be able to see that information available in the footer of it, and you can also join the record label if you feel that you can bring something to it. Mm-hmm. You don't have to live in Cleveland. You can live in the suburbs or even in anywhere else. If you want to travel, come and join the amazing artists and the amazing people doing this work out here, because your voice, your music, and your talents are to be shown, and they do matter to everybody. So thank you so much, and we'll see you all in the next episode.
Scared of needles and shit, and cemeteries too, but I never been a bitch. At 15, saw bullets fly past. Already was robbed at gunpoint, but these was niggas I knew. Won't say a name out loud is my point. Baby, don't cry for me. Just tell a lie for me.
City Sounds is an Inquisitor Media original production in collaboration and partnership with Cleveland Finest Entertainment. This and all episodes are produced, created, and hosted by me, Juan, Díaz, with editing, music, and assistance from Alonso Knight. You can find more at www.citysoundspod.com. Thank you so much for listening.